Hello and welcome to FinTech Talk. I'm your host, Charles Orton-Jones. Today we're looking at digital wallets. Now, the world of fintech is riven with multiple different digital wallets. There's Google Pay, Apple Pay, Samsung Wallet, Google Wallet. And in fact, if you spin the globe, you're going to be coming across multiple different wallets everywhere you go. We're looking at India, PayTM, Phone PE. Go to Africa, you may have heard of M-Pesa, Airtel Money, but how about Jambo Pay, Chipper Cash? South America, Mercado Pago. There's NewTap provided by Nubank. In Brazil, there's Alipay, Venmo, WeChat Pay, Skrill. We can go on. There are a lot of others, but what is the philosophy behind these? Is it going to be a winner takes all environment where the giants of Apple Pay and Google Wallet win out and squeeze out the smaller players? Well, in order to find out, FinTech Talk always put you in touch with the world's leading expert on any given subject. So I'm delighted to welcome you today, to welcome our panelists today. Let's start with Sam Baboyev, who is the author and founder of FinTech Wrap Up, one of the most read FinTech websites, Substacks in the world. He has 47,000 followers on LinkedIn, and I'd highly recommend that you do subscribe to his Substack for the measly cost of about a coffee and a croissant once a month. You can read Sam's really deep dives into fintech payment technologies. Sam, great to have you with us.
Hi everyone. Hi, Charles. Thank you for having me.
Cool. And we bring you Dr. Ritesh Jain, who is the founder and boss of Infinite. Ritesh is a well-known face on the fintech scene. I believe Sam and Ritesh know each other already, of course. Ritesh speaks at many events and is one of the most recognizable faces in world fintech. So Ritesh, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Charles, and good to see you, Sam. Pleasure to be here.
So guys, let's just start maybe with a definition of what we're talking about. I mean, a digital wallet. There are multiple different variations on this scene. Ritesh, what are we talking about? A digital wallet?
See, the digital wallet is a e-wallet, that's what we call it, or any wallet where you can keep your cash, loyalty, or any sort of asset digitally, right? It is now, I'll start only from the payments perspective, but you can keep literally anything. Now, for an example, in India, there's a digital locker where you can keep the documents as well. But let's come back to digital wallet, and the focus is on payments. So the wallet where you can store your money for the transactions. It offers you the convenience and the flexibility. But at the same time, let's understand that what are the digital wallets? So there are different types of wallets: open wallet, closed wallet, and the semi-closed wallet. Now, let's start with the closed wallets first. So I'm sure most of you have used Starbucks. You have got a card where you load the money and you use that card, right? That's a closed wallet where you can use your wallet only at a specific merchant. Now let's come back to open wallet. But at the closed wallet, you can't use that to any other merchant, or you can't withdraw cash. Now in the semi-closed wallet, which is like your Amazon Pay, Google Pay, you can do the transfers or you can use across the wallets, but you can't withdraw cash. So it gives you the flexibility for the certain limitation, like you can use it at most of the merchants, but not everywhere. Now, open wallet, which are generally offered by the financial institutions, the banks. Venmo or PayPal, a pretty classic example. So that you can use to pay anywhere, as well as it allows you to withdraw cash as well. So that's the digital wallet landscape. I'm not getting into the cryptos for now, but we'll come back to that later.
Cool. And Sam, why are they so popular? I mean, I use Google Pay just because it's convenient. There are some services I use. I can't be bothered to type my card details into a service, so I just hit Google Pay. But there's got to be more to it than that. So what are the motivations for people using and providing digital wallets?
Charles, you mentioned it correctly. In the first place, I think it's the convenience. And one of the reasons why digital wallets has become very, very popular is if you look from the perspective of Google Pay and Apple Pay, we all have iOS or iPhones or some kind of Android phone, right? And if we look into the ecosystem of Apple, for example, from all the aspects, Apple pushed its own wallet above all other wallets. Until very recently, for example, in Europe, Apple Pay was closed. So basically, it means Apple was not allowing other providers such as PayPal or others to use it as NFC to make like contactless payments or anything else. But very recently, Europe implemented a regulation that would make Apple to open its ecosystem. Now everyone's trying to launch their own wallets, including Curve. I heard the news that Curve is planning to launch its own wallet. Maybe in the near future, we'll hear like PayPal and others will start doing that. On the other hand, is as you said, you don't have to remember the card number and etc. You just need to carry your phone and you can go and make payments in one click. Again, it goes back to convenience. On the other hand, is security. Both Apple and Google Pay are very secure. They keep your information in a token format, which is very secure and it creates a lot of flexibility for you to use it. These are the main reasons I believe why people prefer wallets, let's say, against bank accounts or others.
Definitely. Let's talk about the motivations for providing them, because again, Ritesh, there are different models. I mean, PayPal takes a juicy scoop out of professional transactions. I mean, I have a side hustle, sold something for $30, actually got $28.22. So they've taken $1.75 out of my transaction. Multiply that by their overall transactions, and that's an incredible business model. But some of them are not like that. So, I mean, Google Wallet, there's no fees there. They just want the data. So, Richard, just give us an overview of the multiple different reasons people are providing these wallets.
So yes, the basic reason for the wallets is the digital adoption. So the global economy, we are moving towards the digital adoption, and that's what one of the reason, and to provide convenience as well as a significant business model. Now, when you look into the wallet, there are different methods of the wallet. So you can load your wallet with your debit cards or credit cards as well, right? When you are using credit cards on your wallet, you are charged more than the debit cards or your bank accounts transfer. And that's where the business is. Now, but let's be realistic. The wallets or the digital adoption varies significantly as per the geographies. Now, let's talk about US, UK, or India, right? India has built up UPI, or let's go a level up. Let's talk about the digital public infrastructure. Why there was a digital adoption at a mass scale in a country like India? Because India has built up the digital public infrastructure. It means you have got a digital payment rails, you have got an identity layer, you have got a data exchange, and the governance layer, right? So it makes it easier for people to do the CKYC, EKYC on the fly because of the digital identity, as well as the payment rails, which are free, right? So the focus from the economy perspective that India is looking forward for the mass adoption of the digital payments. And that's why they have gone up to the zero MDR. So no merchant discount rates. So when you're talking about from the merchant's perspective, up to a limit, they're not paying anything for the digital payments. And that's the beauty. But when you look into the other economies, it differs significantly, right? Because there's an MDR, which is definitely a cost to a merchant. So it works in terms of the adoption, but it's not as at mass level as it in the country like India. But you rightly said around the Google Pay or the Amazon Pay, if you're loading the wallets from your bank account or the debit cards, they won't charge you. But if you're loading from the credit cards, there's a charge to it, right? And certain wallets, they do charge you up to a certain limit. So you've got a threshold until which you're not charged. And if you're using above that threshold, you are getting charged for it. And the types of transactions as well. So again, I will not talk about the cross-border payments for now. We will pick that up in a moment.
Okay. So I'd like to ask you about the room for innovating here, because I'm struggling to think how there is such room for innovation, because Google Wallet does exactly what I want it to do. I'm not sure why people use other things if you've got an Android phone. Apple Pay works perfectly well. But is there room for innovation here? Because there's such a variety of app providers. So why do we have such a variety when the main providers, I mean, looking at the data here, Apple Pay, 744 million active users, PayPal, 429 million active users. I don't have the number for Google Pay. but it must be similar to the Apple one. I mean, this is an industry heavily dominated by a few very big players. But can you see any room for innovation here?
I think this question is directed to me, right?
Yes, Sam. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, absolutely. There is a lot of room for innovation. Let's start with what Apple tried very recently. If you remember, they tried to launch their own cards, but in my opinion, it didn't go really well as planned, unfortunately. Because again, they are not a financial institution. From this perspective, you can see that even though Google or Apple, they may go to banking or financial industry as the companies themselves, but unfortunately, the practice shows it doesn't pay off. However, they are now playing the role of the intermediary. Rather than saying like we will go and offer innovation or products, financial products ourselves, we will go rather partner with providers who are doing it really well. And Apple recently moved away from the model where they will offer their own financial products to intermediary. They are now offering buy now pay later through their Apple Wallet. They are now offering some other types of financial products in partnership with other providers. From this perspective, we can see there is a lot of room for the innovation. On the other hand, if we move away a bit from financial services, we can see that Apple and Google are trying to enable their wallet to hold personal information, digital IDs, which is another layer of security and creates a lot of convenience for the customers. You just mentioned in the beginning of the conversation, you don't need to carry your card, right? But maybe in the near future, your Apple Wallet or Google Wallet will enable you like to carry your ID or driving license in the wallet. So in a digital format and then you won't need to carry your physical ID or driving license. You can simply show it wherever necessary. On the other hand, if the Apple or Google open their ecosystem, it will enable you to easily onboard to the banking applications. KYC, KYB processes will become very, very easy because now you have a digital ID. From these perspectives, I believe there is a huge room for innovation and it will continue growing.
So so what appears to be quite a simple product there for a digital wallet is a door for multiple other things, Sam. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
what is the motivation in Google in having Google Wallet? Partly to block anyone else doing it, partly to control the eyeballs of the consumer, but also they can collect data on spending. And if they want to do anything
Absolutely.
later on, it's there. They're controlling that particular ecosystem. So this may be deceptive. I've started this debate by thinking, it's all about easy payments. But Sam, it seems to be much more than that.
It is way much more than that. If I may add a couple more things from data perspective, in my opinion, you mentioned correctly, yes, Google or Apple, they may have access to your financial data, but they may use it again to personalize the services they are offering. And in the future, they will use this data to offer personalized ads. This is 100%, especially Google, based on your payments and etc. That's why, again, there is huge room for innovation in that direction.
Ritesh, I can see you chomping at the bit, hoping to expand on that. So this is the theme, that these aren't just simple payment portals. These are Trojan horses. We start with payments, but it seems to be so much more than that.
So it's very interesting in terms of, I'll take you back around 2015 when we launched Apple Pay. My team was leading Apple Pay for Apple and Visa, right? And not saying we said so, but at the time of the launch, we said like it is going to be the largest fintech in the world, right? 9 years later, now going to be 10th year now, it's no different. In terms of the adoption, we have seen immediately after the Apple Pay launch, the digital transactions have gone through the roof, right? Yes, they are not as good as in terms of the payment transactions in India because of the payment rails, right? What do you mean when you said about innovation in the space? There's enough room left. And let me tell you, like in payments, there's never a dull day. There's always something or the other happening, right? And exciting. So in terms of innovation, what we are saying, we are going through the tokenization. Now, the tokenization, the concept that we started from the Apple Pay, it is not the first time. If you look into the history, Amex came up with the tokenization long back, right? But it was way too early, right? Similarly, so the technology is not a challenge. We have had a technology, and if I say it lightly, we have tokenized money long back, right? We are just digitizing it today, right? That's what we are doing, So we are tokenizing assets over the period of time, and the wallets are going to be the means for storing the assets and transfer of the assets. Now, if you want to think from not only money perspective, but your digital assets, that could be your cryptocurrencies, that could be your hard assets, which are tokenized, could be your mortgages, could be your wealth, could be your insurances, could be anything, all right? Or your precious items. And that's what the future that we are looking at. So the wallet is just the start. The payments are the start because payment goes faster and they are from your morning coffee to the nightcap.
Yeah.
And that's where they've got into your life. So they have got everything that you do throughout the day, right? So hyper personalization, as Sam rightly defined, that is the way forward, utilizing the technology to provide you the better and convenient services.
And Ritesh, give me your honest opinion here. Do you think that Google and Apple have what it takes to innovate? Because I look at, for example, Google Wallet has barely progressed. I look at PayPal, who last year spent $3 billion on R&D. Can you tell me what PayPal has changed in the last decade? That product has not changed. God knows what they're spending their money on. If there's anyone who knows someone at PayPal, we'd like to extend an invitation to come on air and tell us what they've been doing with $3 billion a year. I'd love to hear it, because the UI, the interface is absolute garbage. You can barely download a commercial report. I'm staggered at how poorly run it is, but maybe they're just too conservative. It's the innovator's dilemma. So, Richard, do Apple and Google have what it takes to innovate? Because they've got everything to lose if they get it wrong. And we know Google's track record of shuttering projects that even go slightly wrong. They're an incredibly nervous organization. So, they shut Google Hangouts, and there's a probably website called Killed by Google that just annotates all the projects they've acted in. It's an absolute bloodbath. So, Ritesh, there's a tremendous opportunity for smaller players to out-innovate Apple and Google?
It is, but at the same time, let's be realistic, right? It's all about the bets. And when you talk about the Google and Apple, they have got a huge ecosystem. You're talking about an ecosystem play. Microsoft said long back they are not getting into the financial services by themselves for obvious reason, because they have got a significant customer base, which is financial services, right? But when you talk about Google and Apple, they have made it very clear. Like if you look into their ecosystem from the wallets perspective, look into their market share in India for that matter. It's massive, and it's just the wallet. Now, if you think from the services, they can come for the buy now, pay later. They can start lending money, right? In the financial business, everything else is a service unless until you lend money. That's where you make money, right? And for that, you need to become a financial institution, whether you become a financial institution or acquire one. It's a universal banking business model. We are not saying something new. It's been there all the time. If somebody says I'm providing service, so either you have got a transaction money that you're taking up, which is the wallet transactions that I said, or on the credit cards, it's a lot higher than the debit cards, or better money you make when you lend. Why financial institutions love credit cards? For obvious reason, right? Who gives you free money? Apart from your family, probably your dad or mom at times, but nobody else, right? But credit cards give you 45 days interest-free credit. Why? Because they want your money back. They want more money from you in terms of the late payment fee and the higher interest rates. Right?
I can see a bit of flicker of skepticism on your face.
Sorry?
Yes. Well, if I may add here, from my perspective, answering your question, if Apple or Google are going to innovate, in my opinion, they will innovate, but I don't think they will innovate as a financial companies, because the practice already showed that Apple, they launched their cards, they launched their buy now pay later products, and it didn't pay off, even though they have very huge ecosystem, a huge number of customers. And looking at this, Google said they were also planning to launch their own cards with partner banks, but they said, oh no, it didn't work out with Apple, we are not going to do that. I believe they will keep innovating as a middle layer, because they have millions of people using their products. They will keep enabling their ecosystem, their wallet, for third-party financial service providers to offer their cards, their lending services, and etc. through their wallet, and they will keep earning from that money by simply enabling go-through transactions. I think it's this is brilliant, just using the number of customers that you have, number of users you have, and telling the financial institutions, you can use our wallet and offer your services, but you will pay us just small, tiny fee, and we will earn from this. I think in that way, they will keep innovating, they will keep helping financial institutions, but I personally do not believe they will go back to becoming a financial institutions themselves. They will
Yeah,
not go in that direction anymore.
I think I'm with you, Sam, partly because there's so much to risk tarnishing the brand. If you're Apple, why do you risk becoming, say, a lender in your own right when you can make, Apple make as much revenue through AirPods as Spotify make full stop or Adobe make full stop? I mean, AirPods alone are a global enterprise. So they don't want to risk their brand by being a financial innovator, because if they get it wrong, they're in disgrace in the eyes. But also, they're so huge, they don't need to.
Yeah.
Which, of course, then therefore opens the door for all sorts of smaller players to nibble away and to create something new.
Yep.
So is that, what can we expect therefore? I always think we should be looking forward, Sam. So give our viewers a vision of the future. If Apple Pay and Google aren't innovating, but they've got all the customers, they're in the 700 million plus customers. Can we expect digital wallets, therefore, to become a huge battleground? We've seen just regionally how many amazing products there are from South America, from Africa. Is this what's going to be happening? People taking huge chunks out of Apple and Google?
In my opinion, in the near future, this is not going to happen. And Apple and Google, they will not let other players just come in and start using their technology, because again, until very recently, for example, in Europe, Apple ecosystem was closed. So basically, if you want to launch a wallet, you would use Apple Wallet only. So Apple wouldn't allow you to use others their technology. So it was closed until the regulators made them open. And in other markets, it's still closed. That's why I do not believe that simply as one player come in and take the share of the Google or Apple. However, it doesn't mean that other players are not innovating. Even though if there is a Google Pay and Apple Pay, there is a Venmo, there is Zelle in the UK, right? There are other players in Europe, for example, Revolut. They are innovating hugely.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of creating that ecosystem that you have, and I believe smaller players or even bigger players such as PayPal, they can innovate if they can create the ecosystem similar to what Apple or Google are offering. And in my opinion, you said very recently that PayPal are not innovating or their interfaces are really bad. But in my perspective, they are innovating. They are launching very good products. One of the products they launched, like Buy Now Pay Later, they are in this industry. They are going there. And other stable coins, they are already there. They are going and starting offering these products. Maybe from user experience, they are not as good as it is expected to be. For example, maybe you are comparing it with Revolut, right? Which has really great user experience. I really love it. But from product perspective, they are doing really well and offering a lot of new products. And answering your question, I do not think that in the near future any player will like take a big chunk from Apple or Google's market share. They will rather partner with them and play along with them to increase their own market share.
Okay. Richard, you mentioned crypto earlier. I'd just like to
Yeah.
ask you, because the Trump administration putting its full force behind crypto. How is crypto going to change digital wallets? I mean, it was still in the early days. I mean, Revolut have kind of incorporated crypto. Others much more skeptical. Is this going to be a game changer?
See, it is. We have already seen the adoption of digital wallets go on significantly because of the cryptos, and further we are going to see that's exploding in the coming years, right? And I will not just say the cryptos, but let's be realistic about the tokenization. And when you say the tokenization, it's the tokenization of the money, tokenization of the assets, and that's what the future that we are looking at. Crypto is just one form of the tokenization, right? And we are looking at the CBDCs, the central bank digital currencies, over the period of time. Now, I might have a different opinion when it comes down to the retail CBDCs, but with the CBDCs, we are going to see the further adoption of the digital wallets. I would like to come back onto the previous question, especially from the Google and Apple, right? In my view, what I see in the future, it's the infrastructure play. And I'll give you a very clear analogy. Even Amazon would like to build a company like Maersk, which is the largest shipping company in the world today. They will not be able to do so. And that's the statement from Amazon at some point of time, right? It's very clear. It's an infrastructure play in the future, right? When it comes down to the large technology player or large ecosystem player, why they would want to go into the financial institutions? No, they don't want to. They have tried their hands, but they realize it's not worth it, as you rightly said. Why to diminish their own image, right? But they've got an infrastructure play, and which they will continue to be. And that's the massive play than just the application play. So the third-party providers, as Sam mentioned earlier, that is the future forward for the innovators, but infrastructure is still going to be the big boys.
Sam, you're nodding away.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Ritesh just mentioned. And if we go back to topic of the crypto, in my opinion, I think one of the biggest movements of the crypto will be in the near future stable coins, especially in cross-border payments. So basically, the end of the last year, the beginning of this year, we can see that almost all the big players launching their own stable coins, including PayPal. They also launched their own stable coin to enable transactions, and especially stable coins are very, very good in cross-border transactions. They are faster, they are cheaper than doing like Swift transfers, right? Unless you have your own closed loop ecosystem, for example, like Revolut, where you are available in multiple countries, people will definitely prefer using stablecoins to make international payments, especially in emerging markets. I believe this will be very, very key because the cost of getting the bank account and making the transfer through Swift is very expensive. I am personally from Uzbekistan. It's a Central Asian country, and currently I'm in Malta. I usually send remittance to my home country, and one Swift transaction costs me usually 20 euros. One transaction, one way is 20 euros. It's quite expensive for me. That's why if you consider, let's say tomorrow, if Revolut, I'm one of the customers of Revolut, if they come up with stable coins for international transfers, I will definitely adopt and start using it. From this perspective, I think crypto has huge future. Also, crypto itself, in my opinion, from one aspect is used as a mostly asset. This is my personal opinion. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and others, these are usually used as a virtual assets as an investment, but stable coins are being used as a real transfer money.
So I would like to add over here and refine it slightly more and add what Sam said. I couldn't agree more with what he said. Ultimately, when you think about, let's talk about the technology, right? Ultimately, it's the technology which is used, right? It's all about the token again, right?
Yeah.
It's basically the storage of the value. That's what the money is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Money holds value, your token holds value. When you have got a system, interoperability, cross-border, that's the beauty. That's what we are looking at. Look into Wise. In you have asked a question earlier about the wallets, right? Wise is the best example. They have reduced prices significantly for the cross-border payments. HSBC had to close their application, right? I
Couple
don't
of
want to
days
get into
ago.
details. I don't want to get into details. Read my article, recent article on that. But the challenge is there's a significant amount of challenge. That's what we are seeing in the interoperability amongst the global landscape. But let me give you something more like UPI. Earlier I mentioned about the digital payment infrastructure, and the digital payment infrastructure globally are moving towards the interconnectivity, interoperability, right? And that interoperability will be utilized by what? By the tokens over the period of time. Today, even India is connected with multiple different countries for the payment transaction, right? Say Pay Now in Singapore or UPI in India, you can do the transaction seamlessly because they are interconnected. Their faster payment capability is connected with the faster payment capability over here. And that's what the future, and wallets are going to play a significant role over there.
Just okay. Final question, therefore, to wrap us up, is what this landscape's going to look like, because there's a trade-off in technology. The winner, sometimes the winner takes all. In mobile operating systems, in early days of mobile phone, there were lots, and Nokia got squeezed out, and MeeGo and Sailfish all died, and we ended up with iOS, Android. That's it. Even Microsoft could not compete. But it seems with wallets, we could end up with a situation where there are just dozens of wallets because there are so many applications. Samsung are not going away because they'll bundle their wallet with every phone. Apple's not going away because likewise, they make sure it's on every phone. But there are so many interesting other applications. There are crypto applications. There are mobile wallets that take no cut because they're interested in harvesting the data. There are others that offer a lot of extra security. So Ritesh, what are we looking at? In theory, these wallets are supposed to simplify life and create one simple payment system. But when I look at what's available in South America, in India, in Africa, it seems that, and each has an ambition to cross borders. Are we going to end up in a situation where there are just dozens and dozens of mobile wallets making life as complicated as it was before?
No, it is not really complicated. Let me simplify this, right? The future that we are looking at is open wallets, which are interoperable, which are interconnected. So let's look into India for that matter. Like you mentioned about the Google Pay or Phone Pay or the other wallets, right? They are pretty much interoperable, right? So you can use them across. So that's the beauty, right? In the future, what we are looking at, even for the cross-border payments, you will be able to do the transaction from your own wallet. That's a capability and credibility of your own provider. Even if your own provider would not be able to provide you the service, then you can interconnect that with some other provider which can provide you the service. And the transfer between those two wallets are free, any which ways, right? So it is not as complex as it sounds. It's really simplified, right? We have not even gone into the gist of, like the India or the different markets. India works differently in terms of the payment infrastructure because it is new. It is comparatively new payment infrastructure than others. Pix is slightly newer than India. They have learned from India. But when you talk about the UK and US market, right, or European market, they're well-established infrastructure, but doesn't mean they are the forward-looking, right? So each geography has got their own challenges, but the future that I see, it's open wallet, interconnectivity for the cross-border payments in the future, and the stable coins are the future.
And Sam, what's your vision of the future? I mean, my crazed vision of there being dozens of competing wallets creating massive annoyance for consumers because they've all got different systems. Ritesh says, I don't know what I'm talking about. They're all going to be interoperable. What do you think? Is this a winner-takes-all scenario with just a few wallets, or are we going to see dozens and dozens all competing?
No, I think I totally agree with what Ritesh said. It's not complicated because, again, it's about tokenization, right? If you think about wallets or Google Pay or Apple Pay, they allow you to add any cards from any bank you have, right? And if you look in Europe or the UK through open banking, you can now add many different cards to your Apple Pay or to your PayPal or any other application. From that perspective, as Ritesh said, it's about interoperability. And if you can add many different bank accounts and cards to your wallet, you can use as many wallets as you want. It's up to you. And it is actually very, very simple from that perspective. So I think the competition will be from the perspective of the features that you offer. If you keep offering, for example, if PayPal keeps offering, let's say, buy now, pay later, and then after that, stable coins, and et cetera, then they will start winning the customers and taking it away from others. But I don't think that having many different players in the market makes the customer's life difficult. It's rather creates competition and drives down the cost.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for that. I entered this debate thinking that digital wallets were a fairly simple concept. I've had my beliefs blown away. It turns out digital wallets really are the Trojan horses for so many other services. We're going to see an explosion of innovation. And Sam, you've almost convinced me that PayPal is doing some innovating. I wondered where that $3 billion a year went. But apparently they have actually launched one or two things. They could clean up that interface. I'll tell them how to do it if they want me to. Anyone watching, please check out Sam's wonderful Substack FinTech wrap up. It's one of the most popular in FinTech, and yeah, the monthly cost is next to nothing. So absolutely worth doing. And Ritesh, thank you so much for your words of wisdom, correcting me on my errors as always. So guys, thank you very much for your expertise, and for everyone watching, thank you for joining us here at FinTech Talk. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.